Just as I walk outside, he sees me, pulls the gun and puts it right in my face. Now, all the brave people out there to think, oh man, when you look at a gun barrel about 3 inches from your nose, it looks like a howitzer, right? It's this big. I don't care if it's a 380 or a 44 Magnum. It's this big. And I got my gun, and I go to grab my gun at my waist, but he's got the drop on me. And I can look from the corner of my eye, see his crew coming up, the other 2 or 3 guys. And I got my Rottweiler, and the dog's going after him, so he's going to shoot the dog or shoot me. And I go, all right, back off, cool down. I'll take the dog in. You know, what am I going to do? He's backing me in the house with a gun. Ties me up. They lay me on the floor. They put my head between one of the guys sits on the couch with my head on the floor with the gun on the back of my head. I remember feeling his ankles on my ears. And they start ransacking the house. And there's 2 in the soffit. They don't know. And they find my open safe. So they find the open safe. They don't find the floor safe. And the worth about at that time between around 30, so it's about 60, 70,000. And they find the holster to the gun. They go, where's the gun? So I roll up. They pull the gun. They take my Rolex off my wrist. And they go, where's the money? And I happen to have 10 grand in a suitcase, like a hanging suitcase, just sitting on, like I just traveled. So I don't know why it was 10. I go, there's 10 grand in there. So they grab the 10 grand and they leave. And we knew there was a kid that lived with his parents that knew these kids. So they go out, because these guys are on the run from the cops. I mean, they're undercover. They're smugglers, and they're already on the run. And in Florida, there's no attics in the houses, right? So they put 2 or 3 rounds into the soffit of the ceiling of the house. Scared the fuck out of the kids, right? You know, now we're coming back. You know, now the hunt, as I say in the book, the hunters are the hunted.
How did you guys find out who they were?
I don't know, just like the rumor mill, you know? We didn't know exactly who they were, but that doesn't help us. But then, what does the kid do? Remember, there's no cell phones. He picks up the phone and starts calling them all, right? Hey, he calls their business. They had a pet store, calls their houses. I have someone works at the phone company. I give her 2 grams of, and I get all the phone logs.
Wow. So
now we know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
We're sure. So I hire these 2 guys. Me and Bobby comes. Then at some point, Bobby's driving home and they try to kill him. They follow him down the street and they start shooting at his car. They put a bunch of bullet holes in the back of his car. His girlfriend's behind him. They're weaving on this 2-lane road with a canal on one side. And, you know, it's a country west, you know, out in Davie, Florida, which is all country. And they put a bunch of bullets in the car. So we're like, fuck that. You know, you can rob me as a dealer, take the money, go. I'm just going to move on. The best thing you can do in the business, if you get ripped off for 50, 60 grand, you get robbed, somebody burns you, go away, go make more money. Don't bring heat on yourself. But when you put a couple of bullets, try to kill us, now you're fucked. Yeah. So I hired this friend of mine who's 5th degree black belt, and it's Bobby's idea, and his cousin who's an Army Ranger, right? And they're going to do the hit. So Bobby has a 357, I think he had gotten. We go out and buy a car from a woman, $1,000 car for the getaway car. And turns out she's blind. That's why she's selling the car. This is great. She can never finger us. Right? The neighbor comes out. She goes, what are you guys doing? We're like, oh, fuck, you can see. So we wanted to buy the car from the blind lady. Yeah. So we give the guys 10 grand and the 357, and they go up to their place of business to kill him, right? They know it, and they go in there and they don't do anything. And I didn't think these guys were really going to do it. I was like more or less humoring Bobby. Like, I'll put up 5 grand and buy the car with you. I mean, I went to high school with these guys. The one guy, I dated his sister in high school, you know? And they didn't do it. But what ended up happening is these same guys killed this guy in Miami, a famous murder in Miami. It's called the Stanley Cowan murder. Really famous. It's been in the news. There have been books written about it and everything. His wife hired. It's a whole story. And they ended up, well, after Bobby got shot, he finally went to the cops. So what ends up happening is we didn't kill the guys, thank God. Because, you know, I could talk about all this all I want. If you kill somebody, you can't, you know, you got that for life.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I didn't want to kill anybody. I want to get out. I'm very glad. They went to jail. They went to jail repeatedly. These guys spent all their lives in jail. They were scumbags. and I don't have to worry about looking at God or anybody else and saying that I killed somebody for money, you know, which I didn't. It was to protect us. But so these guys end up getting arrested. So then Bobby calls me up. He goes, "Hey, they got him. They're down in the lineup. You got to come with me. We're gonna." So it's just like the movies, you know. There's a little glass. There's all the guys lined up, and there's the lawyers in the room, the prosecutor, the cops, and the one dumbass. I guess he was sleeved, and he figured that maybe we saw his tattoos when he was putting down. So he had long sleeve shirt on with rubber bands. like okay, so you got 5 guys in a lineup. Which guy's putting the rubber bands on his shirt? Yeah. So Bobby and Keith are in there, and I walk in, and I'm looking at, and he's looking at him, and you're not allowed to do it by committee, right? Each person, So he's walking out, and he goes, "It's the guy with the rubber bands." He whispers to me, and the lawyer goes, "He just told him." The cops go, "He didn't say anything." What are you going to do? Yeah. The lawyers, there's 5 against the one lawyer. Yeah. There's 3 cops and a prosecutor going, "He didn't say anything." I look at them all. I go, "Guy with the rubber bands." So they convict those guys, and they ended up getting convicted for the murder in Miami. So we kind of got out of it. Then, in the end, though, the one guy, and I said, "These guys are pussies. They're not. I mean, not the Army Ranger, but he's a rule follower. You know what I mean? He's not likely to. You know what I mean? Chris was a karate guy, and but the Army Ranger is his brother-in-law."
So when they showed up, you're saying the Army Ranger and the karate guy, they got arrested, or the guys that got?
Well, no. What happened was they went in to kill the guys at their pet store one rainy night. They go up there. I go, "Why didn't you kill them?" He goes, "Well, we were just staking the place out." Between the time they were going to go back and do the hit, the guys got arrested. The home invaders got arrested. So they no longer were going to kill them because they're in jail.
Yeah.
And
so the home invader Italian guys, they did the murder in Miami also?
Yes, they did the Stanley Cowan murder. They confessed to it.
Oh, wow.
So then what happens is, I always said that, they would never do it. So just so you know, I've told this story before, and people, "Oh, that's bullshit," So one of the things we were doing was, not me personally, but the group, the guys, was giving the Army Ranger, and in exchange, he was mailing to his brother-in-law Claymore mines, hand grenades, M16 rifles, Laws rockets.
From the military?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And I looked at, I actually knew this happened. One time one of my other friends goes, "Dude, turn on the fucking news." And I turn on the news, and there's like the state attorney, the general, they have a whole board. There's, all this shit, there's a whole breakdown of everything that happened. And this is a guy that was like in construction, that lived in a little house, in a little neighborhood. And all of a sudden the cops come in, and they find the Claymore mines and the hand grenades behind his refrigerator.
Yeah.
And I pulled up the newspaper article the other day. I saved it for you. It turned out that this guy that I didn't think was ever going to kill anybody, somebody else had hired him right after that. He went in, he kidnapped some girl, beat her up because they robbed a guy, kidnapped another guy, shot the guy in the back of the head. And so I said, "Wow, I didn't think the guy had the balls to do all this." And so if anybody doubts the story's true, I have the newspaper article to prove it. But crazy, right? This is a guy I grew up with. I dated his sister. He was just an average guy. And all of a sudden, how did he get from that to, but thinking he's a hitman? The gun he got arrested with, when I read the article, was the gun that Bobby and I gave him.
Oh, wow.
I also didn't get my 10 grand back.
Yeah.
That went to his lawyers. But here's the weird thing. The guy got 3 years, which made no sense, for all that crime. And the Army Ranger never really got charged. Like, they kept that, I think he got discharged, but he never went to Leavenworth. He never got any time.
Wow.
For the weapons part of it. He didn't have anything to do with the kidnapping and again, Chris had gotten involved with somebody else. Somebody had stolen from another dealer, and I guess he thought he would play the big guy and be the enforcer. But
yeah. Wow.
bad advice for him.
Yeah.